Crosshair never abandoned the Bad Batch because he was cruel or heartless. He abandoned them because he was the only one who accepted the world as it actually was. While the rest of Clone Force 99 clung to the idea that the Republic still existed somewhere beneath the rubble, Crosshair recognized the truth the moment Order 66 ended. The war was over, the political system they fought for had collapsed, and the Empire held absolute control. His choice wasn't betrayal, it was acceptance of reality. He didn't join the Empire because he believed in tyranny. He joined because he believed in structure. Crosshair had always been the most disciplined, methodical, and detail-oriented clone in the squad. When the galaxy shifted from organized war to unrestrained chaos, he clung to the one institution still functioning. To him, the Empire wasn't an ideology. It was a lifeline in a world suddenly thrown into disorder. Crosshair never hid behind emotion the way his brothers did. Hunter acted from intuition, Wrecker from heart, Tech from logic, and Echo from trauma. Crosshair, however, acted from clarity. He saw the galaxy changing faster than his brothers could accept it. While they desperately searched for a moral route forward, Crosshair already understood that survival demanded adaptation, not nostalgia. To Crosshair, loyalty wasn't about who he loved. It was about who he could rely on. The Batch relied on personal conviction. The Empire relied on structure and chain of command. For a soldier engineered for precision and obedience, one of those paths made sense. The other felt like a slow-motion collapse. He wasn't choosing evil. He was choosing certainty in a world eroding under his feet. His worldview wasn't softened by illusions. Crosshair knew the Empire was brutal. He knew their goals were oppressive. But he also knew pretending otherwise wouldn't save anyone. His brothers comforted themselves with the idea that they could remain clones of conscience. Crosshair accepted that conscience wouldn't protect them. Only compliance would. He bore the darkness so they wouldn't have to. Crosshair's harsh choices came from loyalty twisted, not abandoned. He believed Clone Force 99 had forgotten what it meant to be soldiers. He saw their refusal to follow orders as betrayal of their upbringing, their purpose, and the men they once were. In his mind, he didn't leave them. They left him, choosing ideals over brotherhood. He was the only one who understood the Empire's intentions from the beginning. While the rest of the batch held on to hope that clones still mattered, Crosshair accepted their expendability. He saw it not as cruelty but inevitability. The galaxy had no place for engineered soldiers once the war ended. The batch couldn't see it yet. Crosshair was already living in that truth. Crosshair's supposed villainy was really self-preservation expressed through unwavering discipline. He didn't betray the batch for power or ambition. He aligned with the Empire because he believed that resisting was suicide. He chose life through obedience, while the others chose danger through idealism. Both choices had merit, but Crosshair refused to lie about the cost. He watched the batch act on emotion, without strategy, jumping from crisis to crisis while clinging to the hope that the Republic could somehow return. To Crosshair, that was denial, an illusion. He couldn't join them in pretending they were still heroes of a war that no longer existed. He chose painful clarity over comforting delusion. Crosshair's mask of cold calculation was just that, a mask. Beneath it was a clone who didn't know how to express grief, confusion, or longing the way his brothers did. He felt the loss of the Republic as deeply as anyone, but he handled it the only way he knew, by doubling down on the discipline that had always anchored him. He didn't fear becoming a weapon of the Empire. He feared becoming nothing. For a clone engineered for utility, purpose meant survival. The batch found purpose through freedom. Crosshair found purpose through structure. Neither approach was wrong, but Crosshair understood earlier that the galaxy wouldn't offer them choices without consequence. His willingness to accept the Empire's authority wasn't loyalty to tyranny. It was loyalty to the only system that still had rules. Crosshair believed stability, even at the cost of morality, was better than drifting through a lawless galaxy pretending heroism would save them. It wasn't villainy, it was resignation shaped by honesty. Crosshair lived in a world his brothers were not ready to face. He saw what they refused to see. Clones were tools, the Empire was inevitable, and sentimentality would only get them killed. He chose the path that matched the hard truth of their existence. That didn't make him evil, it made him the bravest kind of honest. Crosshair wasn't the villain of the Bad Batch. He was the only one who refused to hide behind hope. In a galaxy built on collapsing systems and moral illusions, Crosshair wasn't the traitor. He was the one who saw the truth first and didn't flinch. Crosshair's decisions were harsh because the world he lived in became harsh long before anyone admitted it. He wasn't reacting to loss, he was reacting to inevitability. When the Republic fell, most clones clung to identity, memory, or hope. Crosshair clung to the only thing clones were ever guaranteed: orders. To him, following the Empire wasn't betrayal, it was continuity. He understood earlier than anyone that clones didn't have the luxury of ideology. The batch fought for ideals like freedom or morality, but those weren't options for soldiers created to serve. Crosshair wasn't choosing tyranny. He was choosing survival in a galaxy that no longer needed people like him. The difference between him and his brothers wasn't ethics, it was honesty. He didn't betray the batch. He challenged the illusion they were living in. When he said they abandoned him, he wasn't speaking metaphorically. He meant it. They left him inside a system he couldn't escape without help, and they justified it by assuming he was already gone. To Crosshair, their refusal to fight for him hurt more than any order he had ever followed. Crosshair's bitterness came from longing, not hatred. Every shot he fired, every mission he pursued, every confrontation where he stood opposite his brothers was a twisted attempt to prove something. That he still mattered, that he still had purpose, that he wasn't expendable. The irony is that the only people he wanted validation from were the very ones who feared he no longer cared. At his core, Crosshair was a soldier who believed too deeply in structure. He trusted systems over people because systems had never abandoned him, until the Empire reminded him how cruel structure can be when it stops needing you. His faith wasn't in the Empire, it was in order. And when that order collapsed around him, he didn't know who he was without it. Every decision that made him look like a villain was rooted in a fear he would never admit, the fear of being alone. Crosshair didn't know how to express grief or guilt. He only knew how to express certainty. So he hid behind precision, discipline, and detachment, all while carrying a loneliness so profound the batch mistook it for malice. His alignment with the Empire wasn't loyalty, it was resignation. He believed clones were tools designed for disposal, and he thought accepting that truth made him strong. But deep down, it broke him. Each mission chipped away at the illusion that obedience would save him. And the more that illusion cracked, the more desperately he clung to it. Crosshair's pain wasn't visible, it was structural. It showed in the way he hesitated when ordered to kill civilians. It showed in the way he held onto his sniper rifle like a lifeline. It showed in the moment he stopped talking entirely because words couldn't explain the conflict between duty and identity tearing him apart. His silence wasn't coldness, it was suffocation. The tragedy is that Crosshair's conscience was intact the whole time. He didn't lose it. He buried it. And when it resurfaced, it wasn't through rebellion but through collapse. When he finally questioned orders, when he finally disobeyed, it wasn't triumph. It was exhaustion. His breaking point wasn't violence. It was the realization that no amount of perfection would make him more than disposable. What made Crosshair compelling wasn't his alignment, but his awakening. When he saw the Empire abandon clones, replace them, and experiment on them, he realized the truth he had avoided for years. The structure he worshipped didn't see him as loyal, or disciplined, or valuable. It saw him as obsolete. That revelation didn't radicalize him. It hollowed him out. His arc wasn't about redemption, it was about recognition. Crosshair didn't need forgiveness from the batch. He needed acknowledgement. He needed them to understand that every choice he made was shaped by fear he couldn't express, trauma he couldn't name, and conditioning he couldn't escape. His anger wasn't about sides, it was about feeling left behind by the only family he ever had. Crosshair wasn't a villain. He was the embodiment of a cruel truth, that being right about the future can be just as devastating as being wrong. He saw the Empire's darkness before his brothers did. He understood the futility of resistance before anyone else. And the cost of seeing clearly was losing the people he loved while they searched for hope he could no longer believe in. Crosshair's story is the quiet tragedy of the Bad Batch, the story of a soldier who held on to the only certainty he had left until certainty turned into isolation. He didn't fall, he endured, he didn't betray his brothers, he survived without them. And in a galaxy where survival demands compromise, Crosshair became the one thing clones were never allowed to be: honest about their own despair. Crosshair wasn't lost. He was alone. And he wasn't alone because he chose the Empire. He was alone because he thought choosing the Empire was the only choice he was allowed to make. That isn't villainy. That's heartbreak wearing the armor of obedience. And no character in Star Wars has ever paid a higher price for telling himself the truth.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. My main channel is Critical Analysis Hub, where I post Star Wars content about the movies. My secondary channel is Critical Analysis Hub Plus, where I focus on the shows of Star Wars. And my third channel is Critical Analysis Hub XP, where I post comic books. Be sure to take a moment and check them out. Thanks, and may the Force be with you.